viewers. My name is John Aldrich. My wife Jenna. We own Brown Farm here in Scotland, Connecticut, just up the road. We're a cut flower operation, mostly wholesale distribution, and we use two-wheel tractors as a huge part of what we do on the farm now. How many of you are familiar with two-wheel tractors in general? A little bit. Anybody operated one before? Plows, harrows, cultivators, power washers, snow blowers, I mean, you name it. But it's all the machines and all the equipment are designed for heavy-duty agricultural use. They're not like the DR mowers that you could buy that have been popular for many years in the consumer market. So these are heavy-duty pieces of machinery that are meant to be used all day. Powered. They do have diesel as an option, but most of the machines run on gas engines. This particular model has an electric start, so you're not full starting this, but that is an option as well if you feel like torturing yourself with a full start. That's available. So there is a battery mounted here to power the starter. The basic anatomy of it is we have two big wheels. The wheels come in all different sizes. I think these are 21 or 22 inch wheels. PTO on one end of the machine, engines on the other. And then we have a number of controls that can adjust how you're interfacing with the attachment. We can adjust the handles, so on and so forth. Yeah, so do you want to go into the controls a little bit?
Yes. So this can look a little complicated. There are a lot of levers on this thing. There's actually even more levers on this than on other models of the BCS. This particular model, for example, has brakes. It has one on either side, which can help you steer. So common implements that you're going to be using the brakes to help you steer would be a Flail Mower, for example, and especially the Compost spreader. And when you're using this thing, it actually has a transport speed. It can go up to 9 miles an hour. At that point, you have a cart on the seat, so you're on there and you don't have any other way to steer besides using the brakes. This lever here is so that you can maneuver the handlebars. They have 3 positions. You can see I locked it into that position. You have straight, and then you have here, which is all the way to the right. You can also flip the handlebars all the way around. When you are doing this, before you do that, you have to disconnect these. This is how you engage your PTO. This is your speed and your gear selection. And then when you flip it all the way around, it locks into place, but you also still have the offset positions. So, for example, if you were used as a front-mounted implement, a rear-mounted implement such as a tiller or a plow, you would want to have the handlebars offset to the side where you can have just one hand on here rather than having this right there and you're like reaching in. However, it depends on your landscape. You can figure it out how it goes from there. I'm not going to fully attach these, but I want to show you how they swing back around. And so you can attach them like this. And now you're ready to use a rear-mounted implement. But all of the implements here, with the exception of the compost spreader, are all front-mounted, so we want these handlebars to be back where they were. While we're on talking about handlebars, they can also adjust up and down. So you have this center level here. You can see there is all of these notches right here. You have all of these to choose from for handlebar height. So it's not just for how high and tall the operator is, it's also when you're maneuvering the BCS BCS around without an implement, the weight distribution is very different. And so you might actually want the handlebars really low so you can lift up on the machine. Or vice versa, when it's on the other side, you're going to want to push down. Maneuvering the tractor with an implement is always easier than without. Any questions so far? Okay.
Does it do a full 360 or is it just 180 to 180?
It just goes one direction because there's actually a bunch of cables under here where if you were to keep on going like you're on a mini excavator, you would kink and crumple all of them. But they can only go in the direction they're supposed to go, so you don't have to worry about, am I messing this up? And that's the one thing that to take away from the BCS and this thing is that it will not let you do what you're not supposed to do. And you can also very quickly figure out which way you're going. Sorry. Because you can reverse the handlebars, everything else can kind of reverse too. So when you have your reverse lever, that is not in reference to you as a person, it's in reference to the engine, which way you're going. So when you are in this position right here, this is reverse. But if you were to flip the handlebars around, that's actually forward. So if you're trading implements and spinning everything around a whole bunch, you can kind of forget, oh my goodness, am I going forward or reverse right now? And so you just let go a little bit and it'll tell you, and then you can fix it or keep on going. The same is true with the brakes. The brakes will be for a certain wheel, and then when you switch the implement, it's going to be reversed in your head as to which direction you're going to be turning. Does that make sense?
It seems really intimidating. If you go slow and you just take your time, you get the hang of it. And our machine, we picked it up like within a morning of using it, and we were productive almost immediately. And it's just easy. You got to use it and get into the thing. So there are a lot of levers, but you really end up using a few of them at a time, and then the rest are just for the occasional change of equipment or whatever.
This is your speed, your engine throttle. So as you can see, as I'm adjusting this, you can see that it's also adjusting down there. It's just a lot more convenient and easy to be adjusting it from up here. This is your person is at the handlebars and operating it, and this is your clutch. This is your clutch lock, so that if there is a reason why you need to have the machine on, but you need to step away for a second, you can do this. And then immediately it will fall back down, and then you can start your machine up again.
Yeah, we just we have the
Oh, and the wheel lock.
this is your yeah, it's a wheel lock. It's a diff lock. So it locks the two wheels so that they move at the same time or not. Most of the time we operate without them locked because it just makes it easier to maneuver without brakes. But if you have them locked, if you're going in a straight line, you probably want them locked. If you're using an implement that you're trying to keep straight.
Such as a plow. So if you're
Plows.
plowing or tilling, those are examples of when you would want to keep the wheels locked and they're moving together. I typically run it without them locked because that is how you can get those tight turns at the end. And by tight, I mean 10 feet long. What you'll watch when we start the machine up, when we're doing some sampling of pushing down and spinning, if those wheels were locked, the machine would be locked. Pardon?
Like you're doing a long run, then you might want to keep them on.
Yeah, if you are want to make sure that you're going in a very straight line, then yes, keep them locked, and it will help keep you in your orientation. But if you have like unlevel ground, or yeah,
We had borrowed a rotary plow from a friend, and if you're not familiar with the rotary plow, it's like a giant, almost like a corkscrew. But it's I think 12 inches in diameter. So in the grand scheme of these implements, it's a relatively small piece that's going to try to steer you as it hits rocks and harder soil. And that's the kind of thing where if your wheels lock and you hit that rock or piece of soil that's a little denser than the rest, it'll try to keep the machine machine from just doing this. The only other thing I would say is the only controls that you have to touch on the actual engine itself is there's a choke lever down here that you need to operate when you're first starting it. There is a gas on and off lever down here, like you might find on any other small engine. And this is where your key for starting the BCS is located. So once you operate your choke, you start the machine, let it warm up, drop the choke back, and the rest from there is all operated up here, including turning the machine off. You can turn the machine off with the operator presence lever. That's totally acceptable according to BCS, but you can also turn it off with the key down there. You want to talk about safety real quick? Okay. Yeah, so this is the operator presence lever. Anytime you let go of this, the machine's going to turn off. So obviously if you need the machine to stay on and you need to walk around, you're going to lock the clutch and the operator presence lever on. You'll see in a little while when we hook up the chipper, we actually have a strap that goes to these levers and holds them down. It seems kind of dangerous, but you'll see why we have to do it when we're hooked up there. The implement won't run unless these are pulled together like this. But the chipper won't run unless the clutch is out like this. So it actually holds this down, and then if there's ever an emergency, you pull on the string and it lets go of the operator presence lever. Alright, so that's our main safety mechanism on the machine. Obviously, if you're having an implement that's mounted where you're walking, you're going to walk your toes. This is a 300-pound machine. The implements range from 50 to a couple hundred pounds, so it will hurt if you run yourself over with them. Just like any other large machine, you never want to put yourself between the BCS and a hard immovable object, because if you get confused and let go of the wrong levers and don't let go of the right levers, it will try to push you over, and it's quite strong. Loudest input here is the chipper by far. We will sometimes operate the other attachments without hearing protection. It's really not terribly loud, but if you're going to be doing it all day, every day, you should probably wear hearing protection. And definitely if you're running the chipper or some of the louder implements, we would recommend hearing protection. And with anything that's chipping, flailing, cutting, whacking, you should definitely wear eye protection. For the most part, we never have issues with material coming up towards the operator position, but it does happen occasionally. It rocks and debris. The flail mower, if you get in a really gravelly, rocky area, the small rocks will shoot out the front unexpectedly, so you got to watch out for that. And that's something to keep in mind if you're operating it near a building with glass or with children or animals nearby. It's just like operating any larger implement on a tractor.
You want to talk a little bit about the you guys have a different model? How,
Yeah.
In terms of like Chris and I got a firsthand on how much strength it needs,
Yeah.
not attached to something. So is
Yeah.
yours the same, or is this one a little bit more?
Yeah, so this is the 853. We have a 739, which is the next size down. It's 11 horsepower, so it's not a whole lot smaller, but it's I think 40 pounds lighter. And it doesn't have independent wheel brakes on either side, so it's a slightly newer model line. And it has a parking brake, so there's actually another lever here that's a parking brake. And it has an on-off switch that's located up here. The biggest difference is the power safe clutch. So it has a wet clutch, so it's actually, the clutch is in an oil bath. This is sort of an old school clutch, just like you find on most other farm vehicles, tractors, backhoes, that sort of thing. So this has a dry clutch. It's easier to do maintenance, DIY maintenance on these machines that have the dry clutches as opposed to the power safe clutches. In the grand scheme of things, it's hard to say how often you're actually going to have to crack it open and work on the clutch, so it's kind of a toss-up. BCS sort of sells it, pitches it as a easier to operate unit, the unit that has the power safe clutch. I think it's a toss-up. We find that it's a little bit easier to get back on.
It's a lot easier.
Thank you.
When I am on my BCS, it's opposite, by the way. And I am plowing or I am flailing and I need to stop and either get a rock or get myself untangled from brambles. I can do that and the machine stays on.
The power save clutch is set up in such a way that you can just let go and walk away, and the engine stays on, the implement turns off, and the transmission is no longer engaged. So it's definitely a different experience. If you're buying this for yourself, you have to consider, but you don't really have to consider, you're going to learn one or the other. You're not going to have to operate both every day, but just know that as you're watching us use this, if you get a 739 or smaller, then it's going to be slightly different, and maybe easier for you.
And so if I wanted to keep the engine running, but safely be able to walk around and either take care of something with this machine, I have to take my hand off of this and do that. And then now I can untangle myself or get a rock out of the way or whatever.
You should also say that, so this is the default wheel configuration. They sell wheel extensions, they also sell adjustable wheel extensions. And my understanding is Hog just bought some adjustable wheel extensions that'll go on this machine. And that makes it as simple as pulling a cotter pin on each side and pulling the wheel out and putting that pin back in, and now you've just your width. So in this configuration, it's a little bit narrow if you're doing stuff on raised beds, for example. You want wider wheels so that you're not driving on your own beds. And also for moving an implement like this chipper around the farm, you kind of want the wider wheels because it's a little wide and unwieldy, a little top heavy up here with the chute. So if you're going to get your own unit, I would definitely recommend getting the adjustable wheel extensions. They weren't very much money, and if you're getting it from somebody like Earth Tools, then they all sell the adjustable wheel extensions, all the attachments, the accessories, the adapters, everything you would need. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
The only downside on the wheel extensions is that it puts the wheels wider or at the same width as your implement. So if you're in a very tight space, the adjustable wheel extensions actually have like a square tubing that comes off to the side at the maximum thing. So if you need to go along a greenhouse edge, a fence edge, any type of obstacle, and you're trying to get as close as possible with your implement, that's going to provide some frustration. But honestly, it's worth that trade-off because of stability.
We're going to find out today. We're going to brush hog and then we're going to flail mow this part of this area here so we can see what they do side by side. In our experience, the flail mower is basically a brush hog. We understand that the brush hog can
were going to manage large pastures and you wanted to like maintain them instead of having animals maintain them, you probably get a larger flail mower. But if you're going to be using it for things like for garden beds, or kind of cover crop, or as a lawnmower, which I wouldn't recommend because it moves really slow, this is like a really great size. This is a backhoe that goes inside, right in here and slides down. Its purpose is so that it keeps material in there longer, spreading it even more. So it's going to be super fine. I personally have never used my backhoe because I want one I flail a lot of different stuff. Everything from borderline could be a brush hog to mowing the orchard. If you put this backhoe in and you're doing heavy duty stuff, you're going to be using a lot of horsepower and it's going to slow down the machine an awful lot. But if you're looking for something that is going to decompose really quick afterwards and not remain on top of the soil, or maybe you're turning in and you want something smaller, go ahead and use this. This is a very different setup than brush hog. This has all of these blades all spin. If this thing can push it over, it can chop it. So the rule of thumb is, you know, thumb or smaller, but really you can just kind of push down and get it on top of stuff, and it will chew it.
These flaps just try to keep the material somewhat underneath. It does help a little bit with rocks that it tries to fling, but I mean most rocks will just push us out of the way and they'll go running across the yard. And then this is your roller guide. So this just keeps the machine a certain distance off the ground, and this is adjustable. So there's 3 holes on the top adjustment, and I think there's 2 holes on this bottom one. So you can set your chop depth basically. So if you're on a raised bed, you may not want to chop down into the raised bed material. You keep it maybe an inch or 2 off the ground. And if you're doing something like a meadow with it, for example, you'd want to, obviously a little bit higher because you don't want to terminate a field.
And also there could be rocks and stuff that small adjustment you just kind of scoot right over.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing that makes it difficult, or I guess I shouldn't say difficult, but can be slightly annoying when you are trying to hook up the flail mower, is the whole flail mower rotates. So that way as you're going over uneven ground, it's compensating for that. That means that when you're trying to put it onto your PTO, doing this doesn't jiggle it. It doesn't help you in any way to get it on there. Now I can see what I'm doing. You also see how high these handlebars are. That's another one of the reasons why there's so many adjustments on this, is so that as you flip it over, you can switch it. And now I'm pushing down rather than pulling up.
So
Just like that.
the point is you're attaching something by yourself.
Yeah.
Putting it into the
Yep. And then when I'm ready to run this, I'm going to put the handlebars back around. This way I can line up, I can be on the other side.
You can offset them too.
Go right into it.
block out the correct foot side.
Oh yeah,
The perfect
jumps,
level.
I mean, all sorts of things. I ran over so much
two controls on it. One of them is the engagement lever, which is here on the left-hand side. And you literally just drop the lever off the post that's resting on, and then the wheels are engaged with the belt that's on the bottom. And then you engage it to go back and increase spin mode.
And this is the other one with you are raised over this too, so that you can either dump a lot of compost or not too much.
This off the bars offset, this will be the kind of machine where you walk with it, you can get the material and see it going through this. That one's pretty simple. Any questions about this?
I'm imagining I need to refill it a lot.
Yeah. I think if you're trying to put a lot of material on a bed, probably not the solution for you. If you're doing like that maintenance, like inch of compost, half inch of compost on a bed, you can kind of keep it up. It doesn't hold a tremendous amount of material, but I think they bill it as being able to cover 50-foot beds with compost in like one pass.
You can't make higher sides or anything.
There's actually pre-drilled holes.
Well, so I'm
here
looking there and
for
I'm
it.
thinking, oh, I think I could.
No, that is okay. That's been my reservation.
Might go down the right way.
Is that right now the way I spread my compost is my tractor bucket, if we have a four-wheel tractor as well, fits 3 wheelbarrows. So I can just dump in. I'm never actually lifting the compost into something. I'm just maneuvering it and dumping it. However, I have perennial allium bulbs that could use a top dressing, and I'm a little aggressive with my composting. So this would be the perfect application of it is that it's even, I'm not raking and like destroying stuff, so it definitely has a place in the toolbox. Being able to very easily move the wood chipper to the brush rather than trying to get the brush to the wood chipper can make a really big difference.
And on this, besides the PTO drive, there's just one lever that operates there's basically like a brush guard inside, so you can quickly clean out. What's it? Still freshly painted from Italy.